Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really very pleased to be here this afternoon to introduce this special presentation of the Integrative Medicine Research Seminar Series. And it's being done today on April 11th in recognition of World Tai Chi and Qigong Day. The presentation will be on Tai Chi for health, the current state of the research and the challenges ahead. And I think that this particular topic is just so reflective of the mission of the Osher Center for Integrative Medicine. They really believe that their commitment and actually their responsibility is to evaluate integrative therapies with the same scientific rigor that we would if we were evaluating a drug for the prevention of heart disease or a new treatment or a new surgery for the treatment of back pain. And so what's going to happen today is that there will be 3 mini lectures that are very interrelated and very complementary to each other. They'll be given by 3 Harvard Medical School researchers, and in particular Dr. Peter Wayne, Dr. Gloria Ye, and Dr. Helene Langevin. And they've got complementary areas in which their research is focused. Dr. Wayne is in mind-body exercise, but with a focus in neuromuscular skeletal health. Dr. Ye is also interested in doing research in mind-body exercise, but her particular focus is cardiovascular and respiratory diseases. And Dr. Langevin is also interested in doing research in mind-body exercise, but in particular the mechanism that underlies it, in particular connective tissue. So what we're going to do is have 3 mini lectures, 15 minutes each, and then we'll have a question and answer period at the end. And I think this is something you're really going to enjoy a lot. So I'd like to begin by introducing Dr. Peter Wayne. Dr. Wayne is an assistant professor at Harvard Medical School, and he is the director of research at the Osher Center for Integrative Medicine. Dr. Wayne.
Thank you, Julie. So nice to have such a nice turnout and to see so many friends in the audience. Thank you all for coming. So what I wanted to do today in our brief talk is say a little bit about what Tai Chi is and maybe some of the challenges of studying Tai Chi from a scientific perspective. Give you a very broad overview of who's using it and as a result why we're studying it, and the overall state of research of Tai Chi for health. Then I was going to talk specifically about Tai Chi for fall prevention and balance, and to summarize the research to date in that topic, and then give you a specific example of one of the studies that Dr. Ye and Dr. Buring and other people in this room have collaborated on, looking at Tai Chi to prevent fractures in women with thinning bones. And finally, I want to just give you a very broad 10,000-foot view of the portfolio of research that we're doing here around musculoskeletal disease and Tai Chi. So one of the first challenges that we come across studying Tai Chi from a scientific perspective is simply defining it. What is Tai Chi? Now, in contrast to some of the work that Dr. Buring does, for example, studying aspirin for cardiovascular health, where we have a very known active ingredient in aspirin and a pretty good sense of what physiological pathways this active ingredient targets. In contrast to that, in Tai Chi, we're not really sure what the active ingredients are. In fact, we think there's many, more than one. And we don't really understand fully what the physiological pathways or mechanisms through which Tai Chi has its therapeutic effects. To complicate things, Tai Chi is not Tai Chi. There are many different styles, all which differ in their emphasis on principles to some degree. And that's why I have this light bulb up on the slide. It reminds me of a Tai Chi joke. How many Tai Chi players does it take to change a light bulb? The answer, of course, is 100. 1 to change the bulb and the other 99 to say, we don't do it that way in our style. But that pluralism does raise some real challenges for our research, which makes it very different than pharmacological research or other well-defined Western therapies. But we do have a working definition that we use in our group, and that's that Tai Chi is an exercise that's rooted, we know, in multiple Asian traditions, including the martial arts, traditional Chinese medicine and philosophy. And the training aims to integrate slow, intentional movements with breathing and a variety of cognitive components, which include focused or heightened focused attention of the body, body awareness, mindfulness, and imagery. And the overall goals here are to strengthen, relax, and integrate the body and mind, and thereby enhance what the Chinese might call the flow of internal energy, or qi, and thereby improve health, personal awareness and development, and also in some systems, Tai Chi is considered a martial art, so self-defense. So one of the key motivating forces that has led to us having a robust research program here is that Tai Chi is becoming increasingly popular. This is an image from the Boston Globe a few years ago. And actually, there isn't great up-to-date data on the prevalence of use to Tai Chi. The most comprehensive survey was completed in 2007, and at that time, it was estimated that 40 million Americans were using mind-body therapies for health. That's just for health, so that even then was an underestimate. In particular, about 3 million of those people were using Tai Chi and Qigong, and that compared to about twice as many who were practicing yoga. What was remarkable is those people were spending over $4 billion out of their pocket on these therapies for health purposes alone. And not surprisingly, it becomes very important for institutions like the National Institute of Health and scientists like medical scientists at the Harvard Medical School to devote some focus to that. Are people using their resources effectively? Are there some therapies here that can complement what we already know from conventional medicine? Is it safe? So Tai Chi and mind-body is actually a high priority area for funding institutions like the NIH. So Dr. Ye and I maintain a database here at the Harvard Medical School where we keep close track of all the publications that are done in Tai Chi. This is a graph here. I think this works. Showing you that there's basically been an exponential growth in the number of studies over the past 20 or 25 years in Tai Chi. To date, we estimate now that there's over 750 peer-reviewed scientific studies on Tai Chi just in the English language alone. And obviously there's many more in Asia and other languages. And what's remarkable about this progress is that more than 175 of these studies are what are called randomized controlled trials, which are rigorous methodological approaches that minimize bias. So there's quite a bit that's been done, and that surprises a lot of our colleagues when we share this information. This is the 10,000-foot view of what kind of research has been done. These are a summary of the major areas where randomized controlled trials have been focused to study the effects of Tai Chi. And the most common area, and one I'll talk a little bit about, is on fall prevention and balance in older adults. There are little asterisks here. Those asterisks refer to areas of studies that have actually multiple studies that have been summarized with either systematic reviews or meta-analyses to create a gross estimate of the effect. And the places where there are asterisks also suggest that there's positive data. So we know now that there's good data, and I'll share some of this for Tai Chi and balance. Dr. Ye is going to talk about cardiovascular health, and there's quite a bit of research in that area. We've been doing some work in bone health and osteoporosis, and that's been summarized in other studies. There's some nice work. Dr. Wong is here from New England Medical Center, and she's been one of the leaders in rheumatological conditions, osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis, and she's summarized some of those in lovely meta-analyses. And there's some other areas that you can see in here where there's mounting evidence. A lot of this evidence is limited. Many of these studies are smaller, there's methodological issues, but there's a growing number of studies, and our group here across the Harvard Medical School is trying to build on that evidence. So what do we know about Tai Chi and for balance and fall prevention? One of the best, well, let me just say a little bit about why we're studying that. I think most people here know that fall prevention is actually a very significant public health issue. About 1/3 of older adults over 65 have a chance, 1 out of 3 chance of falling within that year. It's quite remarkable. And those falls often result in very serious injuries, fractures, traumas, and other serious medical conditions. Just thinking about hip fractures alone, it's quite scary. An older woman with a hip fracture has a 20% increased likelihood of dying that year. We're not talking about just serious medical injuries and rehabilitation, but the risk of death goes up by 20%. And that's not due to the fracture, but the sequelae, all the side effects afterwards, being able to care for yourself, changes in social activities and things like that. And not surprisingly, those costs are quite high to individuals, to their families, and to society. It was estimated that in 2010, over $28 billion are devoted to dealing with falls and fractures. So this becomes a very important area to study, and Tai Chi shows some promise there, so people are interested in that. The best data on this has been summarized by some researchers in the Netherlands, Loog's group here, and they did a meta-analysis of all the research that was available in 2010. At that time, they found 15 randomized trials, and they said only 7 of those were higher quality, so they focused their analysis on that. Their most, I think, rigorous test of Tai Chi is when you compare Tai Chi to another active exercise. And there were 2 large studies, or moderately large studies, in focusing on Tai Chi versus other exercises. And what they found was that Tai Chi can reduce falls by up to 49% on average. That's a very significant effect. When they looked at how Tai Chi compared to other control groups, non-exercise control groups, there was still an effect there, about 21%, but this effect was not as significant. There was quite a bit of variability across the studies. Since then, there's been a few other studies that have been published. My review of the literature recently suggests about 5 new studies. And 3 of those studies, one looking at Parkinson's disease, one looking at stroke survivors, and one looking at frail elders, all add further support that Tai Chi may help reduce fall rates. So I think it's fair to conclude that there's pretty good evidence, not inconclusive, not unequivocal, but good evidence to suggest that Tai Chi may be a promising intervention for reducing falls. So what is it about Tai Chi that has this therapeutic effect? And one of the things our group is very interested in is the fact that Tai Chi has multiple components, or to use the language of conventional medicine, multiple active ingredients. And it's this package of therapeutic components that may enter the health of a body or intervene with the health in multiple ways, bringing it back to a better state of health. And some of the ways that we think that Tai Chi, and there's actually quite a bit of data for this, is that there are many risk factors that Tai Chi might impact. For example, we know that Tai Chi from well-designed randomized trials is weight-bearing, and it increases leg strength, right? So we know that leg strength reduces the risks of falls and improves balance. We also know that Tai Chi seems to improve various sensory deficits, in particular proprioception, the sensitivity of the soles of the feet, or plantar sensation. So that increased sensation in the sole of the feet gives the body feedback as to which way it's moving and how to adapt to those changes. And there are a number of good studies that support improved sensory perception in the feet and even in the hands. Neuromuscular coordination. There are a number of studies that have been done, randomized trials, where people are brought into a gait lab and they asked to walk down a runway, and that runway is unexpectedly moved, and people are induced to have a small slip, and they wear harnesses, it's safe. And from those studies, as well as other functional studies, how people arise from a chair, how they walk, we know that the coordination, the foot to the ankle to the knee to the hips, etc., is much better, and the reaction time and the reflexes seems to be better. So that neuromuscular coordination is another mechanism. Cognitive impairment is also an important risk factor, and there's a couple components of this. But one of them, and this is of great interest because Tai Chi is a mind-body exercise, not just a physical exercise. But one ironic aspect of fall risk is that one of the biggest predictors of a fall is fear of falling. So if you ever have watched an elderly person who's had a history of fall, a relative or a parent, there's a tentativeness with how they walk. There's a bracing, there's a holding of breath, there's a preoccupation with the possibility of falling, so they're not aware of where their body is in space and the environment around them. And we know that Tai Chi has a very good effect on reducing that anxiety, letting people feel a little bit more comfortable in their body, a little less fearful of falling, and that's been shown to be associated with decreased risk of fall following Tai Chi. There's also some mounting evidence that Tai Chi allows us to multitask a little bit, executive function. And we know that where our attention is also important. If you're walking on a cell phone, you're not as aware of where the curb is or a crack in the sidewalk. By training body, breath, and mind, Tai Chi seems to improve that cognitive function. And we have a systematic review on that we're just completing. Finally, as I mentioned before, and Dr. Wong has showed, Tai Chi can reduce various aspects of pain, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, and we know that pain is a distractor. And taking pain medication can also lead to an increased risk of falls. So there are many different ways that Tai Chi might be impacting this. And this leads to something that I think Dr. Longjaman is going to talk about, which is thinking of health in a more systems-oriented way and how Tai Chi as a multi-component intervention lends itself very well to that systems biology perspective. But there's still many gaps in our understanding of the impact of Tai Chi on balance. A lot of our studies are in much older adults. Some of the studies we're doing now with Hebrew Senior Life, for example, we have people in our trials that are in their 90s and close to 100 years old. We don't know whether quantitatively Tai Chi improves the balance of younger adults. And we don't know too much about other conditions, diabetic neuropathy, vestibular disease, MS, and other areas that impact balance. We don't know very much about bone health. There's some studies, but a lot more is needed. We don't know about the pluralism of Tai Chi. Is all Tai Chi the same? Is there differences between styles? And that's a challenging thing to study. And we don't know a lot about good large-scale physiological studies. And one last thing that we won't have time to talk about today, but we don't even have a concept of what a dose of Tai Chi is and how we would measure that. And that's one of the things our group is moving to study with a partnership with industry. So I just want to give you an example of what a trial looks like when we bring the tools of Western science and randomized trials and the tools that we have in laboratories to study this non-conventional intervention. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, very briefly, a trial on Tai Chi for women with thinning bones. And these women are what we call osteopenic. They're not quite full osteoporotic, but their bones are thinner than normal comparisons with healthy bones. Okay? And so this looks just like one of the trials that Dr. Buring would do with aspirin. We have women that are recruited with a very well-defined set of conditions. In this case, certain age range, 45 to 70, well-defined osteopenia, and they're randomized. In this case, they're randomized to receive the usual care that's recommended by their doctors, plus 9 months of Tai Chi. And what makes this study a little different is that Tai Chi was offered in the community. So women who were randomized to Tai Chi got to pick a school that was close to their home for a lot of reasons. We wanted to make a generalization about the impact of Tai Chi across all styles. So this is one way to deal with the pluralism. We also wanted to make it convenient. 9 months is probably one of the longest trials of Tai Chi in the West. We wanted these schools and their practice to be something that was convenient for them to attend on a regular basis. After randomization, we bring them into the laboratory. We've lots of measures. The ones I'll share with you are dual X-ray absorptometry, DEXA, scans of the bones for bone density, and some measures of balance. But we also have very sophisticated serum measures of bone turnover markers, measures of exercise behavior, quality of life, and many other things. So we measure that at baseline, and we follow them at 3 months, follow up at 3 months, and also at 9 months. And so we do our bone density measures just like we do in hospital clinics. People in this study use the DEXA lab at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Hospital. And here I'll be showing you primarily the data on the femoral neck, but we also have data on the total hip and the total spine. And so that's what this slide shows. And really, I just want to give you a feel for the data. And this is a small study. It's 86 women, and 9 months is not a very long period of time to monitor bone health. Most drug trials for bones are about 2 years. So we didn't expect to see any significant effects in this trial. What we did in this pilot study was try to see if there's a trend and how big that trend was, and to use those data to design a future trial. So